Today I muse about something which I'm not really sure how to approach, but still very aware that this is one of the most important things which will help shape and define my kids in the future. And that is allowing our kids to fail. What does that mean? It's a very heavy topic, and there are so many little things that we stop our kids from doing because we feel they will fail, and which doesn't prep them for life, because life is full of failures. And if we are afraid of failure and we don't attempt something, we really are not going to experience new things and figure out how good we really are or what we really love, right? So I'm going to get into a conversation with Mishka, who is bang in the middle of her board exams, and you're going to find out a little bit more about what she's going through and how perhaps she's prepared either for failure or success, and what her thoughts are on how she approaches failure or success, and perhaps what we are doing as parents that's helping her or not. Everything should be amazing. Kids are sweet and adoring, but so confusing what to do. Just listen to Dad Musings. Okay, so Mishka, you are now in your 10th and you're giving your exams, and you are doing something that not, in fact, less than 1% of your class is doing, which is giving the exam, studying by yourself. Yes. So how does that feel? I mean, you know it's a big thing. You know that. It's not something that you're not aware of. And you know that the other kids are all doing their exams, taking some form of class in multiple subjects, if not just one. Right? So how does it feel for you?
I feel like it definitely would have helped my grades. I can do a lot better than I'm doing with tuitions. And I think the only thing that tuitions help with is that it removes that problem of lack of motivation to study. Because when you go to an external class like that, what it does is you're sitting and doing past papers. And that's something that I might have a problem with motivation of doing it myself at home. It's not like I don't have the resources. It's all very easily available online. But I might not sit down and actually do it, while any other kid who goes to an external class is forced to and does end up doing a lot more papers.
Yeah, but don't you think that you are actually doing it by yourself, which means you are finding your own path? Yes, you're right. You know, when you go to a class, you literally, I mean, in a very oxymoron way, need to leave your brains behind because you're being directed and handheld by that teacher, right? So you don't have to think. But here, you need to think, figure out your own path, and teach yourself how to learn. Would you rather you have taken classes?
No, I don't think so. I think it's very doable to do it without classes. So going back, I don't think I would have taken.
And if you got bad grades, a part of you, of course, will feel bad.
Yeah, of course.
And a part of you will feel, I should have maybe done it this way. But would you put this into perspective that, you know what, I have done it without any help? Does that matter to you? Would you put that into perspective if you had bad grades? Would you think of it from that perspective?
Oh, for sure. Even if I do get bad grades, it's never that like, shit, had I taken tuitions, it would have definitely been better. Like, yeah, I know it would have. But even if I get a bad grade, that's not my first thought. My first thought is, maybe I'm studying wrong, or maybe I need to be doing something different. Not that like, let's enroll me in an extra class. And I think that also comes from the fact that our school teachers are so helpful. And I've said it once, I'll always continue to say this, that they are so approachable, and I've never had an issue with like, I'm scared or I don't want to, or I can't go to them for extra time and extra help after school, during school hours, on call, anything. So if I get a bad grade, then I'm going to think about how I studied, how I need to change that, and if there is a conceptual gap, then I would go to that teacher and clear it up.
You think it's fear of failure also that comes in, that you need to take as much as possible and arm yourself with class teachers, with tuition teachers, with everything, so that I don't fail?
You know what? It definitely is fear of failure, but I think to a large extent, that fear of failure comes from parental pressure.
All right.
Where I have, and I'm not saying this because I'm talking to you, I would say this to anybody as I have never had that external extra pressure of, Mishka, you have to do well, or oh, you got an A instead of an A star, how dare you? Better bring up your grades. It's always that make sure you're sincerely putting in effort, you're doing the genuine best you can, and learning from your mistakes, and not being that like, oh, okay, I got a B in science, like I'm okay with that. Try and figure out where you're going wrong and then how to correct it. With a lot of people, and I hear like my friends telling me about just general conversations they have with their parents, and I hear the subtle pressure being put on them of like, have to do well, have to do well, have to get an A star in 10 subjects you take, don't drop this subject, can't drop this subject, where parents are micromanaging their studies. It is subconscious and subliminal pressure of you have to do well. And when you have that kind of pressure coming from, obviously it's coming from school because you see other people doing well and you have your peers, and it's also coming from home. You kind of have no space where it's just like, I'm really trying and I'm really doing my best, and it like, can that just be? And when that comes in, there is an intense fear of failure where you don't have the space to even try what you're doing or try what you think will work or what you want to do. And when that comes in, the easiest thing to do is, I'm doing school, I'm doing tuitions, and I'm gonna study like by myself and read the textbook. And then you, again, two things happen. There is one, you're getting that extra practice, and in your mind you're mentally like, I can't fail now. Like I'm going to do well, guaranteed, because I'm doing classes, I'm studying in school, and even if I'm not studying in school, I'm doing the same thing 300 times in tuitions.
Right.
So I'm going to do well.
Okay, tell me, after all this, let's forget them, the approach you take. And you, by fail, I mean you don't do well. What is your attitude post that, and how you would react?
Well, I'll wallow in self-pity for a couple hours,
Okay.
if not days.
I was hoping it would stick to ours. But
I was
okay.
hoping so too. I'll tell you what I think I should do versus what I actually do.
So I know you know the theory.
Yes, I do.
Right? So, and that's okay. We all, as adults, it never stops. Even as adults, we have the theory. Smoking is bad for you, and then we go and smoke. Right? So we have the theory, and then we do absolute moronic things after that, which have no justification at all. So, you know the theory. You sound like a pragmatic person. Now you've not done well. What is your attitude now?
Okay, so I'm sorry. I don't know how helpful this is to you. So far, currently I'm like giving my board exams. So far, there's always been a point of, okay, I've given this exam, I've done badly, but I have a second exam. In the mocks, when I did badly, it's always, okay, it's fine, I have time for boards. In ninth, when I do badly, it's for boards, I'll be prepared. I'm giving the boards now. That is
Right.
what I'm doing now.
Right.
I don't know how I'm going to react when scores come out and if I do badly. Because technically, these 12 years have been building up to the board exams.
Right.
After that, yes, of course, there's IB, junior college, whatever. But this is kind of it. This is my final. So I will be able to tell you how I react after.
So what happens if you got a B? Okay, you get depressed like most of us will.
Yeah.
But do you rationalize? Will you rationalize? Okay, this is it's biology. Maybe anyway. I'm not going to do anything in science post this.
Right.
So
That would be my... I'll
like,
rationalize
is your
out
whole life a failure after that? I mean, what happens?
for a bit. But I think the most logical thing that I would like to think that I would do realistically is rationalize it out. If I do badly in science, it's okay. I'm not really going to use science too much in the future. Or think about the circumstances of the exam and be like, it's fine. More than anything, yes, everything has been leading up to boards, but I also have IB coming up. So kind of understand where I went wrong and then just continue working and learning from that as much as I can.
Wait, so do you pick yourself up? Do you learn from your failures or do you get suicidal with your failures? I mean, that's what I want to understand.
I like to say that I do learn from it as much as possible. Not as much as one should, ideally, but I do like to rationally look at the situation and be like, okay, this is what's happened. This is what went wrong. And I know that this is what I shouldn't do now onwards.
Okay, so you have all the theory. You have all the theory of, I don't know, like heroes like Steve Jobs and, people who are running their multi-billion-dollar companies now, and many of them are college dropouts. Right? So you know that college does not define your life. Education is just perspective. Now I'm giving you the theory. Education is just perspective to arm yourself with certain tools that will give you different perspective when you start working. That's all education is. It's nothing else.
Okay.
You know the theory now.
Where's this going?
That if this is not something that you've done well in, do you write your life script saying, I have not done well here, which must mean I am not intelligent, which must mean I will do badly in everything else, which must mean that if I... Like, do you go down that path?
Yes. I think that's just me as a person. Not like I don't think most people would do that.
And for how long do you go down that path? Is it temporary or permanent?
It is temporary. For a bit. And then usually either you guys or my friends help me out.
How can I help you out?
You don't help me out.
Yeah, I
Mom
don't.
does.
Yeah. No, how can we help you? I'm trying to tell you that it's a means to an end, and that means of education to do something in life, it has a bit of an effect in your life. It opens some doors, but it means it has nothing to do with how you'll do in life. If I'm telling you this with 110% certainty and guarantee, I'm telling you this.
Okay, but you can say this because you've done your boards and you've seen that, like, okay, I didn't really need this anywhere else.
And I've seen a billion people also who've...
Yes, but subconsciously, that's never going to register for me until it actually happens, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So if it does happen, that's what I'm saying. When you intellectualize about it now, how can I hit the core in you saying, yes, I failed. Yes, it wasn't good. All right, what did I do wrong? How do I correct it the next time? And how it's okay. It's okay to fall, because I'm telling you this, and to the person listening to us right now, that you fail multiple times. Like, for example, there was somebody I heard at a conference yesterday, and has a huge talent management agency, and he said the same thing. Of the 30 artists we've hired, 10 are doing well. So we failed in 20. But does that stop me from betting on newer people? So failure is normal. In fact, Elon Musk, out of 20 launches, one is successful. They say we are a success. That failure is not defining our success. We expected this to fail. We expected this launch to fail. Would that mean in your books, Mishka's books, that I would not do that launch? Or I'll do that launch, I'll fail, and now I'll look back and say, all right, next one, how do I do this better? Because that's what Elon Musk is doing. This launch of theirs that recently happened, it bombed.
Okay.
And do you know that they celebrated in the office? They celebrated saying it lifted for 30 seconds and then it bombed. We are a success. Next will be 1 minute. Of course, they were going for the success of the launch, but they celebrated what the world deemed a failure. Because they know that unless you keep falling, you cannot pick yourself up and learn how to better it. So I'm trying to drive that point home.
Yes. I
Theoretically?
get that. Theoretically, of course. I understand that.
Right.
But subconsciously, it's always gonna know at me. Like, I didn't do well in that subject. And
Right.
it sucks.
I got, okay, so just for public knowledge, in my CBSE 10th,
Okay.
I sucked at math and I got an 80 plus in those days. This is
Okay.
way back in 1990. I got an 80 plus in everything. In math, I got 55,
Oh, wow.
and that was worse than your C or whatever you call it, D or whatever in your today's grading. And at that time also, it was like, oh, it brought down my overall aggregate, right? And oh, how I hate this subject. But okay, I did well in everything else. So you know what? Math, shove it. It's okay.
Right.
Like genuinely, okay, I did badly in something.
But you did well in everything else.
Oh, and you only got 3 A stars,
No.
4 A's in your mocks. So do you not, very good point, do you not focus on the good stuff also at this moment of darkness and depression? Would you not focus on that?
It's easy to get brought down by the bad grades.
Very interesting point, yes.
Theoretically, yes. Theoretically, everyone knows this. Focus on the good stuff. You did well in everything else. But it's a lot easier said than done.
It goes to another very used cliche. Cup half empty or cup half full. You've heard the cliche, right? Yeah, but this is that coming to life.
I know. Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
All right. Let's see how this turns out. Maybe we'll share this with the person listening to us right now later on in life, and maybe you can share your thoughts later on, because whatever you say is helping somebody. And I believe, when we talk about when you teach, you learn. When you advise, you start applying that knowledge you give people back to yourself,
Yeah.
and it helps you be stronger and a better. It helps you arm yourself better. So from all our listeners, we wish you all the very best for your boards, which are going on
Which are
as we
going
speak
on.
right now. And again, as a father, my advice to you is, we are excessively and extremely proud of you. You're doing it by yourself. Failure does not define you, and it's good to fail. It's okay to fail. Your attitude is right. If I fail, I'll get depressed. I don't know, beat myself up a bit. But we analyze it, right? And we say, oh, so what could we do different? So you're continuing into your 11th, into your 12th. How will we approach it differently? And you've done that in the past. You've changed your style of studying.
And I will continue to do
And you will
that.
continue to do that. And that's what failure is teaching you. Do you agree with that?
Yes. But failure also really sucks.
It does. I'm sure Elon Musk thinks the same way. So you all have something in common. All right. Thank you, Mishka.
I would also like to say that this podcast I felt very targeted. And I'd really appreciate it if you didn't do that again. Because my boards are going on right now.
So won't you have more fun giving it
No.
after this podcast? After all this, this podcast actually turned out more into a you and me session rather than just looking at failure as a subject. That the word failure itself suddenly has this negative, red, negative. And I'm just saying, how about we look at that word failure and see green, positive, wow, okay, there's so
I
much
feel
more.
really targeted and really violated.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much
Bye.
for that. Right, go get back to your studies now. Wow, so that turned more into a counseling session, really. And I'm going to keep that. I'm going to keep the whole thing just as it is, because that was a very frank, open, and I felt a beautiful conversation between my daughter, who's going through a lot of hell right now in the middle of her 10th boards. She's doing it by herself. We are extremely proud of her, but she's going through a lot of doubt, a lot of issues, a lot of hassles. And we have told her, and I stand by this, that no matter what grade she gets a D as her aggregate and as her average. I will be as proud of her as if she got an A star, which is the highest that they can get, because she's doing it by herself. She's discovering how to do it by herself. Everything she's done by herself, including the subjects she's weak at, taking help from her school teachers. I'm going to end this podcast here, and we're going to continue this topic and speak to my younger one, my son, and my wife in the next one. So do stay tuned in. These are Dad Musings, and we continue to muse about stuff that we do for, with our kids. And are we doing the right thing? Are we the right influence? Are we prepping them in the right way? And we'll also discuss solutions to how can we prep our kids for failure in a better way. Alright, so if you have any thoughts of yours you'd like to share, especially in the audio format, do visit my website chintubhosle.com and send me your audio clippings. I would love to share them on my next podcast or whenever I can. So alright, and remember, if you are thoroughly confused and full of doubts with respect to the things you do with or for your kids, you are not alone. Oh my God, what is happening? Our kids have got us balding. Are you in the dark? Need some light? Subscribe to Dad Musings.